Hi guys, today we will talk about Ethereum and its ecosystem. What's waiting for them in the future, which projects are worth paying attention to, and how we can make money from it. Recently, the biggest flash crash happened in crypto. Altcoins dropped by 70–90%, while Bitcoin fell only about 10%. Ethereum dropped a bit more, around 25%, but recovered very fast, just like its ecosystem projects. This dump clearly showed which coins the big player is interested in and plans to pump, and I will show them to you. Bitcoin is close to its highs, Solana and Ethereum are also near their highs, while altcoins are still lying on the floor and not growing at all. It feels like the bull run is passing without us, but we're gonna fix that. Right now we are at the most stressful point of the cycle. Fundamental assets are expensive while everything else is worth pennies. And we need to understand where the liquidity will go next. If we expect altcoins to pump 10x, then it's too smart to focus on Ethereum. You might say it's already expensive, there won't be any big gains, but let's look at the bigger picture with Bitcoin. Remember, the last time people were calling Bitcoin expensive and saying it wasn't worth buying? I remember it perfectly. It was the spring of 2024. For almost a year, it was barely growing with small pullbacks, finally reaching its previous highs, and then started moving in a descending range. Everyone was saying that Bitcoin is done, its distribution zone. The next move is down. And what happened next? It grew 2.5x. You might say, so what are you suggesting? We buy Ethereum and make just 2–3x? But look, Bitcoin grew 2.5x from $55,000 to $125,000. And its dominance increased. While during the same period, altcoins dropped 70–90%. And if you invested $10,000 into altcoins back in March 2024, you would now have only $3,000 left. But if you put the same $10,000 into Bitcoin, you would now be sitting at $22,000. The growth of altcoins is impossible without Ethereum growing first. So we have two possible scenarios. Either Ethereum rises and altcoins follow with strong gains, or Ethereum moves sideways and altcoins keep falling. That's why, to protect my capital and avoid another year of altcoins sitting at the bottom, I'm adding Ethereum to my portfolio. If the alt season starts, I can always rebalance from Ethereum into altcoins. But if you are stuck holding altcoins that are down 80%, there is nowhere to rebalance. You can only wait and hope. On the chart, we can see the big players work textbook example. First, he makes everyone lose confidence. From January to May, the chart keeps going down with strong FUD around Ethereum. Then we see a sharp V-shaped reversal, where everyone who was scared jumped out as soon as they reached their break-even point, some at $2,000, some at $3,000, thinking it was just a dead cat bounce and the drop would continue. Then we slightly broke the previous highs, and just a few days ago we saw a flash crash. Ethereum dropped to 3,400, but the price quickly recovered and is now trading in the $3,900, $4,900 range, right near the 2021 highs. Everyone sees the same pattern we saw 3 times before. We hit resistance, trade a bit around the top, and then dip like here, and here. Now, who is buying Ethereum at $4,000 right after such a strong flash crash? Of course, no one, because everyone thinks the range will break down. And if I say Ethereum will reach $8,000, $10,000, and only then the altcoins rally will begin. People will say I'm crazy and that Ethereum has already shown all its growth. But that's exactly how it always happens before a big move up. Right now, Ethereum chart looks very similar to how Bitcoin behaved in mid-2024. Especially that flash crash and how Bitcoin was trading sideways near its highs for around 220 days, while altcoins were falling and Bitcoin dominance was rising. If we overlay that same structure on Ethereum, we will see a similar pattern. Of course, I don't think Ethereum will stay sideways that long, maybe a month or two, at most just enough time for hands to change before it finally breaks out upward. That's why I'm buying Ethereum around $4,000 and waiting for it to go to $10,000. As it grows, altcoins will likely stay in sideways range, and when Ethereum reaches that higher zone, that's when it will make sense to rotate from expensive Ethereum into cheap altcoins. But that's not all I wanted to say about Ethereum. Yes, we can make money on Ethereum right now, but not 10x. To make real profits, we need to look deeper into the Ethereum ecosystem itself, both in terms of token investments and upcoming airdrops. Because once Ethereum pumps as the main altcoin, most of the liquidity from it will naturally flow into its own ecosystem. It's logical you pump your main asset first, and then you use that expensive Ethereum to pump cheap ecosystem coins, instead of sending liquidity into other sectors. Let's start with the fundamental projects on Ethereum. It's Wormhole, one of the biggest bridges in crypto. You might say, hey, the bridge meta is already gone. But in this case, I'm specifically talking about the manipulation that can happen on this token with no narrative needed. If you remember, Wormhole was hacked for about $300 million back in 2022. The fund behind it, Jump Crypto, actually refunded the money, and 2 years later, Wormhole raised another $250 million in funding. That means big players have put serious money into this project, and since Wormhole doesn't generate huge fees, the only real way for them to get their money back is to pump the token and take profit at the top. Wormhole listed around $1 with a massive airdrop. People who had 30,000 in volume received about $5,000 per wallet. After that, the token dumped about 95%, and for the past 220 days, it's been trading between 0.07 $0.12. Also, notice this. Before the flash crash, Wormhole was trading near the top of its range. During the crash, it dropped by 75%, but quickly bounced back to the middle of the accumulation zone. If you compare that to most altcoins, hardly any recovered that fast. That tells us the big player still has plans to pump this asset soon. Otherwise, they wouldn't be buying it back so aggressively and refusing to let others get good entry points. Let's go to Dropstep, and daily trading volume now averages around $30 million with a $500 million market cap almost. A year ago, volumes were even lower, probably because many holders were still around. But after seeing a 70% drop over the year, most people lost weight completely, letting the big players buy everything back cheap. From the bottom, the token has already almost doubled from $0.065 to $0.12, while most altcoins are still hitting new lows. I expect Wormhole to start its move early than most altcoins, simply because it's a heavy cap token that requires more liquidity and more time to distribute. And there is too much money invested here for them to just let it die. So, what are my targets? As we said, the project has around $500 million invested, and the current market cap is also around $500 million, meaning the funds are sitting on massive paper losses. Sure, they probably hedged with the shorts at listing, knowing the token would be dropped for a year, but you can't hedge away $500 million that easily. I expect the token to start rising soon, first moving to around $0.80, then consolidating a bit, and later breaking into the $1.5–2 range. At that point, big players will likely start distributing. Signs at $2. Wormhole's market cap would be around $8–12 billion, which is very realistic for a project this strong. You can also stake your Wormhole tokens. Rewards come roughly every 3 months, around 10% of your deposit, and you can unstake anytime, which is a nice bonus. The next project is IMAX, the main gaming project in crypto, and they have got a lot of money behind them. Right now, metas in crypto are changing super fast. 1 week it's a perp DEX like Aster or Avantis, then ICOs like Plasma, which dropped around $10,000 to everyone like a base reward. We can see that liquidity keeps rotating through different sectors one by one, and that only sector that hasn't been pumped yet in this cycle is a gaming sector. Immutable X is the undisputed leader in the play-to-earn space. Their last funding round was back in 2022. They raised $200 million. Another very important factor is the token emission. If we look at the supply, we can see that all tokens are already in circulation. There are no more unlocks coming, and no one is putting sell pressure on the market. Even if the team decided to cash out, it would be almost impossible for them to do it effectively. Daily trading volumes are under a few $1 million, while the market cap is around $1 billion. If they suddenly sold $50 million worth of tokens, the price would instantly crash by 70%, and that's it. You can check it yourself even on top exchanges like Binance, OKX, Bybit. Daily volume very small. On the chart we can clearly see that the team knows how to pump. Back in November 2023, they sent the price from $0.55 all the way to $3.50. That's a 6x move. Now the token's been bottoming for more than 250 days, plenty of time for the team to reaccumulate everything they distributed before here. Also notice how fast the big player restored the price right after the recent flash crash. Almost the same behavior we saw on Wormhole. We could also see one last drop just to shake out the weak hands, and I expect we will soon retest the upper range again. Considering 3 main factors, daily trading volume, strong narrative and competent team, I expect the token to easily make at least 10x from here and reach around $10. At that price, IMAX would have a market cap of roughly $15 billion, which is not that high for a growing bull market. And honestly, they could push it even higher, maybe to $20, but I will stay conservative. My target is $10. And if you want to see more about my trades, market activity, and of course upcoming airdrops, check out my Telegram channel, links in the description. That's it for today, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.